They don't need to destroy you. They just need to make you feel something. Just once. A flicker of anger, a pinch of guilt, a shadow of shame. That's all it takes. One emotional misstep and you hand them the keys to your mind. Machiavelli understood it centuries ago. The man who controls your emotions controls your future. Your enemies won't always strike with brute force. They'll strike with sentiment. They'll twist your loyalty, infect your fear, inflate your hope. And the moment you react, the moment you respond, no matter how righteous it feels, you've already lost. But what if you didn't? What if their words hit a wall? What if their praise slid off you like rain on steel? What if your silence unnerved them more than your outrage ever could? To become emotionally dangerous is not to feel less, but to reveal less. Not to be heartless, but to be precise. Not to be numb, but to be immune. This isn't a doctrine of repression. It's a discipline of discretion. Once you master what others are never allowed to see, you become untouchable. You become the threat they cannot predict. Because there's a lie you've been sold since birth. That feeling deeply is a virtue. That caring is noble. That emotional transparency is some form of enlightenment. But Machiavelli would ask, who benefits from your sensitivity? Certainly not you. The more you feel, the more they mold you. The more you care, the more they consume. The more you react, the more they command. Power begins when emotion ends. Not when it disappears, but when it is controlled. The weak never grasp this. They think strength lies in shouting, in sobbing, in exploding. But to become emotionally dangerous, you don't need to erase your soul. You just need to erase your reactions. You still feel, you still think, but your face remains unmoved. You do not hand out your feelings like samples in a supermarket. You reserve them. You weaponize them. You choose them like weapons on a wall, sharp, calculated, ready. You stop needing to be understood. You no longer seek validation. You no longer chase connection. You live not to be heard, but to execute. Machiavelli whispered this in every line he wrote. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Emotions make you lovable, but fear is born from control, and control is born from mastery over self. Most people let emotions guide them. They speak in pain, move in fear, scream in rage. That's not human. That's animal. That's prey. You're not here to live like prey. You're here to become the predator. Calm, calculated, composed. The emotionally dangerous man is not without feelings. He's above them. He observes himself like a general surveys the field. He doesn't flinch at betrayal. He doesn't blink at threats. He doesn't speak when silence stings more. This man doesn't rage. He waits. He doesn't beg. He vanishes. He doesn't explode. He recalibrates, because he knows what most never learn. Calm is a weapon. Stillness is a warning. Indifference is dominance. But to reach this level, you must kill your addiction to emotional validation. Stop seeking applause. Stop demanding sympathy. Stop explaining your pain to people who weaponize it the second your back is turned. You don't owe anyone your openness. You owe yourself your sovereignty. Guard your emotional energy like a vault. You don't react to every insult. You don't justify every decision. You don't explain your vision to those who've built nothing. And you detach, not because you don't care, but because caring too much makes you predictable. And predictable men are pawns, replaceable, forgotten. The emotionally dangerous man wears masks, not to lie, but to protect. He remains unreadable, not to deceive, but to dominate. His detachment is not coldness, it's evolution. The shift happens the moment your reactions stop dictating your movements. Suddenly, you become the one who moves others without even touching them. This is not cruelty, it's command. You become the man no one can provoke, no one can bait, no one can predict. And that makes you a ghost in the battlefield of emotion, present but untouchable. Because today, power is no longer seized by steel or stone. It's stolen through words, through guilt, through shame, through emotional distraction. They don't need to shatter your bones. They just need to pull one feeling from you, and you'll implode from within. Every emotional outburst is a blueprint. That sigh of frustration, a map. That tear of disappointment, a key. That flash of rage, a weakness revealed. You think it's justified, but they see it as intel. They now know how to trigger you. They know how to rattle you, and worse, how to own you. Emotions aren't private, they're broadcasted, and in the game of power, the one who reveals his emotions first is the one who bleeds first. Most people confuse emotional expression with emotional strength. They think opening up is brave. They think reacting is real. But Machiavelli would laugh. He wrote not for the liked, but for the feared. He understood that power is quiet. Power is still. Power doesn't flinch. You think tears are honesty. No, they're signals to your enemies that the wound is fresh. You think yelling is strength. No, you've already taken the bait. And they're smiling as you destroy yourself. This is how kings fall. Not through war, through emotion. This is how empires rot. Not through failure, through reactivity. And the cruel truth? Most men are proud of their downfall. They say, "At least I was real." No, you were readable. You were easy. And in a world that watches everything, being easy to read is suicide. If your enemies can make you angry, they can make you impulsive. If your friends can guilt you, they can steer your loyalty. If your memories control you, the past becomes your prison. And if your heart is always wide open, someone will eventually crush it just to see what happens. The enemy doesn't care to destroy your body. They want your choices. And they get them through your reactions. No matter how wise you are, no matter how good your intentions, if you can't control your emotional output, you'll never wield power. In this world, emotion is currency, and you're leaking yours for free. Every outburst is a donation to your opponent's strategy. This is the hidden war no one talks about. Not a war of blood and bullets, but of feelings and reactions. You're not losing because you're weak. You're losing because you're exposed. Your insecurities are visible. Your need for approval, your hunger for recognition. They smell it on you. They manipulate it. They drain you. Not because life is unfair, but because you never learned to armor your emotions. Emotional control isn't a gift. It's a discipline. Like a blade, it must be sharpened, tested, and wielded with precision. Machiavelli didn't believe in luck or destiny. He believed in preparation. He believed that what a wise man does immediately, a fool does eventually. If you want to become emotionally dangerous, you must train for it ruthlessly. Not by suppressing emotion, but by dissecting it, rewiring it, weaponizing it. The process starts with stillness. Step 1. Pause before you react. This is your first signal of power. Stillness isn't weakness, it's observation. When something provokes you, pause. Not for peace, but for leverage. Watch them squirm in the silence, waiting for your response. Study their face. Let their intentions rise to the surface. While they wonder what you're thinking, you've already dissected their game. Step 2. Replace emotion with strategy. The average man acts on feelings. The powerful man acts on intent. When you're tempted to say, "How does this make me feel?" switch to, "What keeps me in control?" Detach from your ego. Detach from your need to be right. Right means nothing if you've already lost position. You don't need emotional closure. You need tactical advantage. Revenge is not in shouting, it's in rising. It's not in payback. It's in becoming untouchable. Your silence is your revenge. Your absence is your punishment. Your progress is your retaliation. Step 3. Train your triggers. Know them before the world does. Is it disrespect? Rejection? Being ignored? Good. Now hunt them. Seek out situations where those exact triggers appear again and again. Not to suffer, but to destroy their control over you. Let them ignore you. Stay calm. Let them lie. Stay neutral. Let them underestimate you. Stay silent. And each time you don't react, the trigger loses power. It dies a little, and you grow stronger. Soon, nothing moves you unless you allow it. That is true sovereignty. Step 4. Train your face. Control your expressions. Your face is the battlefield before a word is spoken. Machiavelli understood. Men study eyes before they strike. Your eyes must be calm. Your mouth must be still. No twitch, no slump, no stutter. Practice this in the mirror. Say nothing. Be neutral. Smile only when it benefits you. Frown only when it sends a message. Every look, every breath must be calculated, and when they try to provoke, give them nothing but a surgical stare. The more confused they get, the more control shifts back to you. Step 5. Say less than necessary. Words are like gold, and most men spend them like scraps. Do not be one of them. Speak only when it creates movement. The emotionally weak explain everything. They ramble. They confess. They justify. You speak to command, to confuse, or to correct. And the rest is silence. That silence will echo louder than any speech. Because silence is terrifying. Silence makes them fill in the blanks with fear. And that fear becomes your armor. That silence becomes your control. These 5 methods, pause, reframe, train, harden your face, and speak less, are not tricks. They are disciplines, weapons, shields, and the more you use them, the more emotionally invincible you become. Not by ignoring pain, but by processing it privately and turning it into strength. This is what Machiavelli would call the inner fortress, an invisible citadel wrapped around your mind and soul. Most men defend castles. You defend your thoughts. Most rely on armies. You rely on silence. No betrayal, no guilt, no flattery can breach that fortress. That's not survival. That's dominance. Once you gain control of your emotional energy, your entire presence changes. People feel it. They start treating you differently. Conversations get shorter. Silence becomes your loudest weapon. You no longer need to prove yourself. You don't need to convince anyone. Your presence alone is heavy. Most men walk through the world like open books, every emotion spelled across their face, every opinion gushing from their mouths. They call it being authentic. No, it's being exposed. You want to be real? Then be unreadable. Let them guess. Let them wonder. Because when they don't know what you'll do next, they fear you. You don't chase. You don't flinch. You don't justify. You simply stand still, and they don't know how to handle it. They'll test you once, maybe twice. Then they stop. Because they realize that the usual games don't work. The compliments don't move you. The guilt doesn't land. The silence makes them sweat. Emotional control becomes your quiet power. You stop relying on others emotionally. Their approval, their attention, their validation, it no longer fuels you. And the moment they realize they can't influence you, you become immune. People will begin to see you as the man who doesn't waver. They lower their voice when speaking to you. They measure their words. They cross lines more carefully. Not because you threaten them, but because your discipline demands respect. You no longer have to speak to make a point. Your silence does it for you. You become the standard by which others check themselves. They don't understand how you do it, but they feel it. They feel your self-containment, your depth, your restraint. And that shakes them more than anger ever could, because you're no longer a man easily swayed. You don't get pulled by compliments. You don't crumble from criticism. You don't react to bait. That detachment doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you no longer bleed in front of people who sharpen knives with your pain. You've stopped granting access to your emotional levers. You don't chase being understood. You don't argue with fools. You no longer explain your silence. You've built something internal, a distance, a barrier, a command center, where your thoughts stay close, your intentions stay hidden, and your movements come without warning. You don't owe anyone your reactions. You don't owe anyone your vulnerability. You act only when action serves you. You speak only when speech advances your goal. The rest? Let it pass. You move through the world like a shadow, felt but untouchable, present but unreadable. You don't get pulled into debates. You don't defend yourself against small minds. You don't seek attention. You don't need validation. What you withhold becomes more powerful than anything you could ever express. That mystery, your emotional silence, is more commanding than any speech, any threat, any plea. And you begin to protect your environment. Not everyone deserves access. You avoid chaos. You remove yourself from the people who need drama to feel alive. You choose solitude over shallow support. You stop explaining your mission to people who wouldn't understand it even if you screamed it. Because the truth is, most people only pretend to care. What they really want is information, to use against you, to gossip, to manipulate. But you're not giving them anything. You're not playing the game. You don't need their comfort. You need clarity. You need peace. And peace is found in control. Control of time, of mind, of reaction. Maintaining emotional power means staying sharp even when no one's watching. It means rehearsing calm instead of rage. It means training your facial expressions, your voice tone, your gaze, until they all communicate one thing: composure, even when tested, even when pushed, especially when attacked. You don't let storms shake your ground. You let them pass. And when they do, you remain unchanged. Still, that's where power lives, not in performance but in restraint, not in noise but in discipline. Emotional control becomes your strongest asset. Not your wealth, not your intelligence, not your charm, but your stillness under fire. That is what makes people respect you. That is what makes people fear you. You've stopped letting the world tell you how to feel. You've stopped believing that openness equals strength. You've stopped equating expression with power. Power is quiet. Power is contained. Power is the ability to move through conflict untouched, to remain still while others erupt, to say nothing and still dominate the room. That's the mark of emotional danger. You don't shout. You don't plead. You don't break. You simply do not respond. And in doing so, you rise above every game. Because once they can't get a reaction, they can't play with you. They can't manipulate you. They can't touch you. Emotional strength isn't a phase. It's not a short-term strategy. It's not something you practice once and master forever. It is a discipline, daily. consistent, ruthless. It requires vigilance. It requires memory. Because the moment you get comfortable, you get soft. You think you've transcended your triggers, and you let someone in too quickly. You stop filtering. You trust too fast. And just like that, it slips. Not your mind, not your body, but your edge. You explain when questioned. You defend your boundaries. You show your irritation. And with every slip, you lose quiet ground. Ground you built in silence. Ground they'll gladly take the moment you drop your guard. So how do you keep it? You hold the line. You remain the gatekeeper of your own mind. You remain the master of your reactions. When someone disrespects you, you don't lash out. You remember. When someone lies to you, you don't demand the truth. You store the information. When someone ignores you, you don't chase. You move. Your response is your greatest weapon, not your words, not your emotions, your calm. Your ability to observe, calculate, and remain still when everything around you tries to make you erupt. You must learn to observe your feelings like a general watches terrain. Don't react to anger. Analyze it. Don't drown in sadness. Study it. Don't collapse under loneliness. Use it. Your feelings are real, but they are not commands. They are data, and most of it is noise, designed to throw you off, to disorient you. Let them pass like weather. You remain the same. Whether in heat or cold, storm or sun, you remain. That is what makes you rare. That is what makes you powerful. And above all, you detach. Not from life, not from meaning, but from dependence. You no longer attach your peace to anything you can't control. Not other people, not their loyalty, not their truth. You expect betrayal. You expect dishonesty. You expect selfishness. And because you expect it, you are never surprised. You are never shaken. You move with calculated detachment. You observe the world for what it is, not what you hope it could be. And when things go dark, when people flip, when truth becomes illusion, you are already prepared. Because emotional control doesn't make you numb. It makes you surgical. It makes you immune to noise, to chaos, to games. You no longer panic when things shift. You shift with them. And in every situation, every insult, every betrayal, every silent war, you stand still while they scramble. Because you've stopped needing to be understood. You've stopped needing to prove anything. You speak only when it moves you forward. You act only when it brings results. The rest? It's noise. And the emotionally dangerous man has no time for noise. He moves like a shadow. He speaks like a blade. He doesn't react. He recalibrates. He doesn't chase. He disappears. He doesn't argue. He dominates through stillness. His value is measured not by what he shows, but by what he withholds. And his presence becomes a mirror to the weakness of others, because they realize something terrifying. They can't read him. And if they can't read him, they can't control him. That is the final transformation. To be emotionally dangerous is not to shut down. It is to be so aware, so focused, so precise, that nothing unnecessary leaves your mouth. Nothing involuntary moves your face. Nothing undeserving touches your spirit. You live in silence. You move with clarity. You act with intent. You respond with power. That is the man they can't shake. That is the man they cannot reach. That is the man they cannot play. Because he's not here to survive. He's here to rule.